It's 2017. Happy New Year. And this is the Cat's Whiskers Podcast live. Hello and welcome to the first Cat's Whiskers podcast of 2017. My name is Jono Bullard. We are going to be looking back at a fantastic festive period for the Nottingham Panthers with 11 points out of 12 available. And with me to talk about all that, plus the rest of the Elite League standings and news, some of your comments, the Supporters Trust meeting that took place, and GB's Under-16s tournament win in Dumfries are Paul Balm.
Hello.
Antoine Marie-Jeanne.
Hello, and happy Joe Grimaldi Day.
and Aaron Lord.
Hats off for that one.
Hello.
Well, of course, we're going to start by looking back at Panthers' festive period. If you want to get in touch with us to say what you thought about the festive period for Panthers or anything else that's going off in the hockey world, you can do Twitter at Cat's Whiskers TV is where you can find us, and just drop us a message and we'll get as many as we can in while the show is going on. But to go through the Christmas results, I will not go through the goal scorers because it will take me an age. So 23rd of December, Panthers started their festive campaign with a 4-2 victory over the Dundee Stars. That was followed by two excellent victories over the Sheffield Steelers. On Boxing Day at the Sheffield Arena, a 3-2 win, and then another 3-2 win at the NIC on the 27th. Panthers travelled to the Sky Dome to take on Coventry on the 29th of December and came away with a 4-2 win. However, on New Year's Eve at the NIC, Panthers succumbed to the Blaze after overtime, Blaze winning 6-5. And then yesterday, the 2nd of January, Panthers concluded their Christmas campaign with a 4-2 victory over the Edinburgh Capitals. 11 points out of 12. A totally unexpected points haul from the festive programme. I mean, I think before the last podcast we did before Christmas, I think, Paul, did you say you thought we'd get 6 points?
I was hopeful we'd get 6. I didn't expect us to, but yeah. Amazing.
Aaron, you said 8, I think, or 9?
I said 9, yes.
Yeah. And Ant, I can't remember what you said.
I said 12.
Did you?
I
don't think you did you? Really?
I said my heart. I said my heart said 12, but I think I said 8.
8. Yeah. I think I said 8 as well. So.
Well, I was closest then. Sorry, I've been working as Sheffield's accountants all day.
So a fantastic points haul from the festive programme. Aaron, I'll start with you. Why do you think we did so well?
I think possibly, we just battled. We kind of, I think we realised, what it takes for us to win these types of games in this short amount of time and against this opposition. Obviously, the arrival of Jason Williams, I think, just gave everybody a lift. But I think, taking it back to Boxing Day, I think that was a big performance and a big result, which gave us the maybe the belief going into obviously the return game against Sheffield, and then going into the Sky Dome, where I think you would have said that they were our most difficult fixtures over this period. But I just think we battled, we were motivated, and we just worked our socks off, and we put everything in. Everybody put everything into all of the games that I've seen, which are all of them apart from the Blaze away game. So I think that's why I think we managed to get the points that we did.
Paul, your thoughts?
I think Aaron's probably right in the main. We just got on with it. We were short-bodied, shorter players, and those that we had got just got on with it, and and did a job in at least one game, kept their heads while others were losing theirs around them.
Yeah, the injection of Williams had a good effect. I think we spoke about it briefly on New Year's Eve. We've now got somebody that can score those important goals at big times in the game, and I think in particular the home game against Sheffield to come back from 2-1 down like we did, it showed a lot of guts and determination, and it's really nice to see it from the team, to be fair.
Yeah. Couple of you mentioning Jason Williams there. He appears to have settled in very quickly, made his debut on Boxing Day in Sheffield, scored the game-winning goal the next night on the 27th, also against Sheffield. He's got 4 goals, 4 assists in his 5 games that he's played. And Paul, he settled in very quickly. How key has his arrival been?
Well, he's good in the last 10 minutes, I'll give him that. Sorry, I did all that before. Yeah, I mean, you only have to look at what he brings to the team. He's, he can move the puck about really well. I think it was the first goal against Coventry was a superb lateral pass into Schultz in space in front of Stewart, and he made no mistake. You can see he's got a real eye, and he moves the puck quickly, which is something I think we've been a bit short of this year.
Yeah, Aaron.
I can't really argue with or disagree with anything that Paul's just said there. And the only thing I would add is obviously he brings the experience, but he also brings that calmness on the puck. When you go back to the Sheffield away game that yourself and myself were at, Jono, he was obviously rusty, you could tell that, but even when Sheffield pressed and put the pressure on him when he was on the power play, it's just that calmness and the confidence that he has within himself, obviously, to keep the puck moving, like Paul said. And I think he's taken a bit of pressure, obviously, with what he's done in the games that he's played, scoring those 2 game-winning goals. And I think that's just took a bit of pressure off a couple of the other players, and hopefully that can continue.
Yeah. And your feelings on Jason Williams?
I can't really add too much more than what the guys have already said, to be honest. Calmness on the puck, got a fantastic shot, and I think flying in, I do believe he was here for the Dundee game, so he would have been able to see what the Elite League's all about before playing against Sheffield. I think that might have helped as well.
Okay. We're going to look at some of the games more specifically now, and we'll start with the series against Sheffield. And Paul Thompson's post-game interviews at both games, after the first game in Sheffield Arena, he bemoaned the fact that his side had not really tried, basically saying that it was the worst team he coached since he had been at Sheffield.
Wasn't it the worst performance?
Oh, the worst performance, yeah.
Yeah.
And on the 27th, he bemoaned the fact that they'd not got enough power plays because his little angels were, penalised by the referee, which was made to look completely laughable once the highlights came out. So, Aaron, I'll start with you because you was at both games. You was in Sheffield and obviously at the NIC. Do you think Paul Thompson was fair in what he said, or was he talking out of his orifice?
The first game, I kind of... It certainly wasn't the worst Steelers performance that I have seen. But I think after, sort of looking at it and thinking about it, when he said it's the worst coaching performance or something that he's had since he's been there. And I think, thinking back to the game, I think maybe from a coaching point of view, you would say that was the worst, because I don't think they followed out his plan and executed his plan. There was a lot of players just making individual plays. They weren't using, obviously, all the strengths that the Steelers have. And I don't think they weren't great at home on the 26th, by all means. So I think he I kind of agree with him in certain aspects after that game. But the return leg at the NIC, I don't know how you can say that they are not a dirty team with some of the, petulant and just plain dirty, unsportsmanlike actions that they did. And, I've been reading like The Cage, which I haven't looked at for a while, and people talking about, obviously, Thompson losing his head, which he did do, and shouting things at Stephen Hogarth, who was the ref on the 27th. And we always kind of say, and I've said in the past, it is nice to see some sort of aggression from your coach that you're not happy with things. But, looking at that, the Panthers did exactly the right thing. And Paul kind of just mentioned it briefly at the very beginning, is that they just totally lost their heads and we didn't. And that's what, that was a major factor in them losing the return leg. So I don't agree with his comments after the 27th, but I can partly see what he was saying on the 26th, because I don't think they were very good, and I don't think they carried out and executed the plan that probably Paul Thompson wanted them to.
Paul, do you think that maybe Sheffield got a little bit complacent, thinking they only had to turn up to beat the Panthers, considering the results they've had against us earlier in the season?
Yeah, I was going to say, considering those results, especially at home, that's what they'd be looking at. But that's in a lot of ways that's down to the coaching. You've got to try and stop that complacency. I think to a certain extent we saw a certain amount of that against Edinburgh. Was that just yesterday?
It was yesterday, yeah.
It was yesterday. Good grief! I don't know what day it is. Oh yeah. But if that's the case, then Thompson should be holding his hands up. But we know Thompson doesn't hold his hands up. He likes to point at other people and try and blame them. I mean, you said in the in your preamble there that did we think that what you said after the game on the 27th, in light of what we subsequently seen in the highlights, made it look stupid? I thought it sounded stupid at the time, before I'd seen the highlights. And that was, before you'd seen things like Matthew Waugh reaching over the boards, which they didn't get a penalty for. I think it was Fitzgerald clattering Farmer over from behind, smack in front of the referee, which they didn't get a penalty for. And to then say, we didn't get enough power plays because of the dirty, dirty Panthers. I'm sorry. It just smacks of sour grapes.
Ant, coming to you, how did you think we played it in that game against Sheffield? Because I thought overall Sheffield were the better team, I think, on the night. However, their complete lack of discipline lost them the game.
Bang on. Obviously, I think Tomo tried a Fergie-esque tactic, if you like, by trying to deflect the performance from the game in Sheffield onto himself, trying to almost sort of protect the players somewhat. But then whatever he said in the changing room after the game, before the game's got them so wild up that they just went to pot. I don't know what was happening. They were coasting at 2-1 at one point, and then they just completely lost it. And I know, obviously, I'm wearing my black and gold specs somewhat, but I cannot understand what he's got to whinge about, other than the fact he's stuck in Sheffield.
Fair enough. Moving on to the series against the Coventry Blaze, and a controversial incident at the Sky Dome that was talked about quite a lot afterwards. Panthers winning 4-2. However, Henry Passel, who started the game due to Mika Viekman being ill, celebrated with the Panthers fans, bounced off the glass, but that was behind the Coventry players, who didn't take too kindly to it. He got a bit of a spear from Russ Cowley, and Kevin Noble went crazy and had to be wrestled off the ice by one of the linesmen. So, just your thoughts on that incident. Obviously, a great win for Panthers at the Sky Dome, but Ant, I'll come to you again. The Passel celebration, do you think he was a bit out of order, or just a bit of naive exuberance from a young lad?
I think it was more a please to get the win. I mean, so they were talking about that it was his first league win. I'm not I don't know if that's right or not. So obviously that's going to be a big thing for him, and he's clearly got an affinity with the Panthers fan base anyway. I mean, they were chanting his name before he even skated over to the plexi. He takes a spear, doesn't react to it, and then Noble loses his, marbles somewhat. But my thoughts on Noble I've already covered. He's an idiot anyway. So, but I just, I can see why Coventry got a little bit upset. However, the same thing happened to us several times, and nobody's cared. So be it. Enjoy it. You've won a game. How often do we win a game away in Coventry? Let's have some fun for once.
Paul.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a bit of both, really. Yes, it's a bit of youthful exuberance. But you'd also like to think that somebody sat him down and said, Henry, that probably wasn't the smartest thing you could have done at the time. But, by the same token, are Coventry making it worse by the fact that, players want to go and thank, however they do it, their fans for coming and watching them. And yet they're putting the Panthers fans behind the Coventry players. I guess you could say it is. It's similar to what we do in Nottingham.
Yeah.
It's not maybe not the best way of doing it, but yeah, it probably wasn't the best thing to do.
Aaron, we all remember back to when Jody Lehman bounced off the plexi after winning the playoffs in front of the Panthers fans, and quite a few of us, myself included, were rather angry about that. So I suppose in some ways you can understand why the Coventry fans weren't too happy.
Yeah, I think if you're a Coventry fan, you're going to be angry and you're going to say that shouldn't happen and etc. And I think if the shoe was on the other foot, we'd probably be saying the same. But I kind of agree. I agree with both and Paul to a certain degree in the way that it's a little bit naive for me. Henry loves a win. He loves to celebrate with the Panthers fans, like Ant said. But also, like Paul said, it probably wasn't the smartest thing, and maybe somebody has sat him down and just gone, there is kind of that ethic, that kind of rules and that kind of sportsmanship where you don't OTT it, for what a better phrase. But look, it's. I think, like you said, the Jody Lehman incident, we were all furious, and so I don't really blame the Coventry fans for being up in arms about it. But I mean, I'm not really sure what Noble was going to do if Danny Beresford hadn't have ushered him off the ice, but because he didn't really do anything the next day to kind of say that he weren't happy about it. So I think it'll just be forgotten. And like Paul said, I imagine somebody might have had a word with Henry, but do you know what? I think if Henry had the opportunity to do it again, I think he probably would.
I mean, I don't think there was any malice intended at all from what he did.
Yeah, he's a young kid that loves to win.
I just think he wanted to celebrate with the Panthers fans, but obviously it looks disrespectful to Coventry the way that it was done. So I hope someone has sat him down and just said, look, just tone it down.
I mean, the people as well, comparing it with the Lehman incident, what they've got to remember is Hassel went to celebrate with his own fans.
Yeah.
Jody Lehman, instead of going and celebrate, his team's just won the playoffs. What's the first thing on his mind? Celebrating with his teammates? Celebrating with his fans? No, going and goading fans of another team. Apparently because we've been disrespectful to Coventry the night before, apparently, according to him. But, it's something to note, isn't it?
But wasn't Lemon...
It's a bit like getting overexcited about a fight at an end of a game where somebody joins in. Fight's already happening, isn't it?
Wasn't Jody Lehman flicking the V as well, though?
Yeah.
It's completely bouncing, like Paul said, bouncing off the plexi in front of your own fans, as opposed to deliberately going to a section of supporters that have, probably given you a bit of grief.
Just lost the playoff final, and
Oh,
Well,
yeah, we
you
were
know,
in that game, weren't we? Well, we're on the arse.
The thing is, it's done and dusted now. You know, Coventry are still crying about it. Let them cry about it. You know what's better? Let's go to their place at the weekend and beat them again.
Sounds good to me. Sounds very good to me. Of course, in the return leg, Henry Passell had to go off injured after taking the puck to the face, which caused a nasty cut just above his eye. The reaction of some commentary fans was that they cheered as he went off, and some even called it karma. So, thoughts on that, Aaron?
Thanks to come in to me first.
It was just a random choice.
It's nice it's your turn today.
Yeah, thank you. Well, do you know what? Everybody has their own right to write whatever they want and to say whatever they want. And, you know, when you're talking about social media, etc., people put views on my own, not of the organisation that I work for, etc. So it's a very kind of grey area in that aspect. But, you know, I think if it was, again, on the shoe was on the other foot and it was their netminder and they had that injury, that they might think a little bit different.
Sorry, I've lost connection. I lost connection. I didn't hear the last sort of couple of minutes.
It weren't worth hearing.
So just on about the incident where Passell went off injured at the NIC, and some of the commentary fans were cheering, and some said it was karma and that sort of thing. So, just your thoughts on that.
I think, to be fair, I was chatting to one of my good mates in bunkers after the game, who's a Blaze fan, unfortunately. But and he said he was cheering initially, and then when they got wind that it was actually an injury, he wasn't going off because we decided to put Dan Green in for whatever reason. That completely changed the mindset for the vast majority of them. So not to just have a go at him for no reason whatsoever, but some of the comments that came out on social media were completely inappropriate for people that, regardless of whether they say, I caught this last bit, Aaron, whether they say that they're all views of their own, there are members, they are, you know, officials of that club, and they should know better. And has Aaron had his phone call yet?
No, I haven't. But like I said, it is a grey area because, and this, I think this is it's very tough on social media because, apart from, unless you're going to have like your work account and then a personal account, it's very hard to judge it, isn't it? Because no. Well, but this is what I mean. It is a grey area because it's like we've had it in the past where people, you know, Mike O'Connor, we've talked about when he said stuff from his account. I do think it's a bit of a grey area, but the reason, you know, that I had that Twitter conversation with a member of the Coventry Blaze media team was because of what they were writing about our team as well, and I just thought that I would like to hear their thoughts. But, you know, I think it's been and gone now, and, you know, I'm not losing any sleep over it personally.
And to be fair to the tweet that did come out, it was deleted and there was an apology. Yeah. So, yeah. Well,
but that's not the point, is it? You know, it's all right going, I shouldn't have said that, sorry. And everyone, no. The point is, you shouldn't have said that in the first place. It's all right going, I'm sorry, but you said it. You know, it's like politicians. I didn't mean that. Yes, you did. Otherwise, you wouldn't have put it. Yes, it might be in the heat of the moment, but you know, if you're in a position where you are part of the you are an official of the club, any club, then you should think and be held accountable for what you're saying. Whether it's, it's a personal account. I don't care. You're still that person, and people are going to look at it and say, people are going to look at it and not necessarily, it's not on an official account, so it don't matter. They're going to go, oh yeah, he's part of that media team, or whatever.
It's about having the right judgment, isn't it? Really, because on that bio, it will say that they are a member of the media team. So, like Paul says, it is what you say you've got to make sure that, and we all get heated up in the heat of the moment, and we all.
Well, no, I do.
Yes.
I have done in the past, and I've said some daft things that I've regretted on social media.
Yeah,
but
like Paul says, when you have the opportunity that some people have been given, then you have to have the right judgment, and you have to know whether that's a good thing to say or a bad thing to say because of what might happen afterwards. Because, like Paul says, I agree. You can't just come out and go, "Oops, I shouldn't have said that." It's now deleted, etc. Because if that does happen in a politician, like Paul said, then we all wouldn't go, "Oh well, never mind. Let's all move on." So it's the same type of theory, isn't it? Really.
Okay. Going back to the game itself, and it was 2-1 to the Blaze when Henry Passel came off. The game finished with a 6-5 victory to the Blaze in overtime. A lot has been said about Dan Green coming in. Dan Green coming in lost us the game. We would have got 2 points had it not happened. Dan let in 4 goals from 11 shots, which by any stretch of the imagination is not great. And I think there's been a bit of a witch hunt against him, to be fair. However, my other thought is we've got 2 import netminders, and we have 2 import netminders for a reason. And Dan is there to be the backup. I don't think he's meant to come in unless it's an absolute emergency, like it was on New Year's Eve. And I just think he has been hung out to dry a little bit because whatever his ability, he's been very loyal to this club and he's not let us down. And I think some of the comments were a bit out of order, if I'm honest. However, I do accept that if he hadn't come in, we probably would have won that game. And looking at the highlights, there are some of those goals that just shouldn't have beaten him at all. So I suppose what I'm asking you guys to discuss or to talk about is, what do you think the situation is with netminders? Do you think that the blame squarely needs to be laid at Dan Green's door, or is there more factors involved in this? And I'll start with you.
I don't know if you can blame Greener 100% for it. He's hardly had any game time, if any, this season. Was he played like 12 minutes or something before he came on? We, like you've said, we've got a bit of a luxury in that we've got Mika as our main number one, and then we're lucky to have Henry as another import goalie as well. Obviously, because of the injury problems we've had, they've both been benched for parts of the season and what have you. I just like to see, and if it's going to be Green, so be it. But if we're going to have 2 import goalies, I want our British goalie to be playing regular hockey, whether it be for the Lions or another ENL team or somebody in the EPL, and then we call him up, as and when we need to. But that goes to a deeper thing within the club of progression for the young British players. For me,
yeah, very good point, Aaron.
Should Dan Green have saved some of those shots? Yes, he should. Can you really blame him to a certain degree? No, you can't, because as Adam said, he's not had any game time. That job is hard enough coming in cold when you've had some game time, let alone not having any game time during the season as well, due to us having 2 import netties. Dan Green does a very good job for the club. People mock his clipboard, but that is obviously getting stats that is important for the coaching staff. I know that not every backup does that, but the only thing I would say really on it is all these people that go, we should get a young British netminder in. Dan Green is 34 and he's on waning down his career, etc. what young British netminder in their right mind would want to come and be third backup, third netty at a club like the Panthers? It's crazy to think that a young 18-year-old lad or 19-year-old netty would just want to come and sit in the stands because, we have a bad injury record. So we're going to, if we've got the opportunity to dress two import netties, then we're going to take that. I just think it's ridiculous. That young 18, 19-year-old is far better getting regular time at, at an EPL level, etc., than they are just standing in the stands. I think you've got to look at it in the way that Ant says and maybe have that relationship. But like Ant said, again, it's a long-standing thing within the club that needs to be, worked on. That if that opportunity comes, then, they do have the opportunity to call them up. A little bit like, Sam Gospel did for the Steelers when they came into our barn and won in the Challenge Cup. But
thanks, I've forgotten about that. But
yeah, well, but maybe that's the way to go. I just don't get this. Oh, we need to get rid of Dan Green and get a young British netminder in. I'd rather see that. Well, yeah, it might be better for our club and our team, but it ain't good for the 18, 19-year-old. They ain't going to progress. They ain't going to be, the next Ben Bounds or Stephen Murphy if they're just sitting in the stands or notching down hits and checks and face-off wins, etc., like Dan Green does. But yes, he should have saved some of the shots that were at him. But there's other men on the ice as well that has to take some, and I will say some, not all of it, but some responsibility for that as well.
Well, you say that, but to be fair, I saw some criticism of the defence. Now, the defence, I felt, did their job. They restricted Coventry to 11 shots in the 31 minutes that Dan Green was in net. So I don't see what more they could have done, to be fair.
I don't think they did the job in overtime. That break, the three men that we put on when Coventry broke and scored, I think that was, yes, the shot was poor and Greener should have done better, but I think that was partly down to the three players that we had on the ice at the time. I don't think they covered their angles well at all, to be fair.
Well, when they made it 5-4, we were on the power play, okay, but we hadn't got a single defenseman on the ice. Not one. And all right, that's the style we've been playing. Yeah, that's the style we've been playing when we got an import netminder in. Surely we've got to think, hang on, we haven't got an import netminder there now. We've got Dan Green. Maybe we need to change things round a bit to give him a bit more protection. You were talking about leaving him hanging out to dry, John. I mean, there were times he did look like he was hanging off a washing line, flapping in the breeze. I'm sorry.
No.
The thing is, we had opportunities to win that game in overtime. Brad Moran, a few fluffs of the stick on the puck. So if we'd won in overtime, would it all have been that much of an issue?
Probably
yes, I'm sure people. I'm sure people
won it in the first period.
Well, yeah, exactly. And you know what? There was no guarantee that if Patel hadn't have gone off injured, that we would have won the 2 points. Yes, we would have been in a better position, but there was no guarantee because we weren't playing the greatest of games that night either.
Okay. Just to finish off, Panthers playing Edinburgh, winning 4-2. I think it's fair to say that was a highly forgettable game.
Wasn't a classic.
That's the end of that. Sure. That's the end of that conversation.
But 2 points is 2 points, and that was all.
Can I just say though, John? I'm glad you haven't mentioned the Dundee game because I can't remember a thing about that either.
Well, I say it was a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's 12 or so days ago. So
yeah.
Let's put it this way: that half an hour delay to face off did nothing for my recollection of the game whatsoever on the night. Never mind now.
All it did was take chunks out of valuable drinking time. That's
yeah. I'd even forgotten it were delayed.
So overall, 11 points out of 12 available, which is a fantastic return, and we'll have a look at a table a little later on which will show how good a return it was. But some comments that we've received from fans via social media today. Colin Basford, he says, nothing short of being an awesome period. It's a shame it wasn't 12, but I think we would have all have took 11 beforehand if it was offered. We shut them up, the M1 up, with 2 great wins, which always holds a certain amount of smugness, which is I'm not sure absolutely true.
Up, but they are. It won't be for long anyway.
David Spence, he says, great haul of points, good battling qualities on display, a very surprising festive period. Jonathan Barker, he says, absolutely stunning to watch, a lot better than we have been playing. Williams is a beast, let's keep up the good work. Richard Martin, he says, 11 out of 12, who would have bet on that? So glad we went on the 26th, so very nearly didn't. No Christmas dip, very happy on the way to Italy. So
we had a Christmas dip in October.
We did. Well, I think October and November, to be
fair.
Yeah.
And is he on the way to Italy now? Because I mean,
I say he's a bit early if he is.
It's a bit early. You're a bit early, Richard.
Lee Constable, he says, fantastic run of results. We didn't blow anyone out of the water, but points are what matters. I imagine that took a lot out of the guys for the Steelers doubleheader, so to get a further 6 points from Blaze and Caps showed real character. You could tell they were ready for the rest of the Caps game. Although I feel we're still out of the league, I hope we can push on and at least secure 4th and try and push for the Steelers for 3rd spot. Having home second leg for the playoff quarterfinals may be huge. So, I mean, Paul, so just something on that, what Lee said, because you've written an article that's on the Cat's Whiskers website right now, and you said about it was probably a bit too much hockey, 6 games in such a short space of time.
Yeah, but that was as much about it was a bit too much hockey for me as it was for the team. But we keep talking about how short numbered we are. When you look at Edinburgh, last night, the problems they'd got. I
mean, they had 13 skaters. 13 skaters. They had their backup in. Because their first 2 netminders were injured, but let's be fair. Let's give some credit to young McLaughlin. He was superb last night.
Oh, yeah. Was it 40 shots?
40 saves from 44 shots. That's a hell of a performance.
Yeah, I mean, you could see. I think to begin with, he was looking like he was make the first save and then worry about what happened afterwards. But then he just sort of grew into the game, really, and I was really impressed with it. And you only have to look at the ovation they got. Both him and his team got after the game. You see, the Nottingham crowd appreciated it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is always nice to see.
I mean, even watching the highlights, he made a couple of absolutely superb glove saves that were going plumb in the top corner, and 2 very, very good saves he made.
Yeah, to be fair, it's taken me watching the highlights to realise that actually not all of his saves were pretty much straight on. I mean, I've said a couple of times that sometimes our forwards can make opposition netminders look world class, and I thought this might be another case of that. But no, there was a couple of fantastic glove saves, and fair play to the kid. He did really well. He's come in cold, playing with a team that he probably doesn't know very well. I don't actually know who he plays for. Who does he actually play for?
I think he plays for
on a regular basis.
I think he plays for the Capitals SNL side.
So there you go. You see, there's a bonus of having a proper fed junior system.
Good, very, very good point. I think we will leave the festive period there on that note. But a fantastic result by Panthers with 11 points out of 12. Okay, just moving on. The second supporters just meeting took place last night at the Bunkers Hill Inn. Paul and myself went to the first one, which was attended by only 10 people. I mean, Paul, you couldn't make the one last night, unfortunately, but what did you think when you heard about, one, there was over 60 people in attendance, and two, how it was very much a positive meeting?
Well, I mean, first thing I thought was, where were they all at the first meeting? But no, I mean, seriously, I think it shows, that we talk a lot of time, especially me when I'm moaning about, the fans, the people who come in. The ones I refer to them as they've got a sheet of paper in one hand, a pint in the other, and a blank expression as they come up the stairs trying to find their seats. These people who only go to like 2 or 3 games a year, but the number of people there just it shows that there are a large number of people who are invested in the Nottingham Panthers, emotionally invested. And I think the other thing it shows, something that I've noticed this year. I mean, how many do you think, as a very quick aside, how many do you think would have been there had we got 1 point out of 12, not 11? Because misery loves company. But one of the things I've noticed this year is that it feels like the dissent is spreading. There might be the same amount, but it's coming from different areas, places where people were had been happy enough with what they were seeing or what they were getting in the past, but it's just felt like it's just been spreading. So I just think it's really, really encouraging, particularly the people bought into what it is, not just turning up with, I want to say I don't like this, I want to say I don't like that, turning up with agendas or however you want to put it.
And you was at the meeting, so it's the first time you've been. So what were your overall thoughts on what went off?
I was really impressed. There's obviously, I was looking around while both the guys were, talking about what the aims of the trust were and the history that they've got with the Forest one and how that's gone on so far and what have you. And all you saw, there was no people shaking their head. All you saw was people nodding and agreeing with what was being said. Not one person took their pitchforks and was going, shouting anybody's name in particular, demanding people leave the club and what have you. It was so positive, and I just really hope this can be built on and this gets it's a formal go ahead with it.
Aaron, your thoughts?
I can't really say much different to what Paul and have said, and it's just obviously it's very encouraging. And as I said when we talked about it last time, there's a long way to go. It's not a quick process, but I think when you and Paul went to that first meeting and there was only 10, to the next meeting and there's 60 plus, shows that everybody involved is working hard and the hard work that they're putting in is paying dividends. And as Ant says, hopefully it can just build and grow and the fans actually have a say and get to say what they would like, because they're all under the same umbrella of improving relations between the club and the fans. It's quite simple. So it's just obviously very positive.
Paul?
Yeah, I think the acid test, is still to come. It's going to be the club and the involvement with them. I know they're illegal. If a supporters club is created, then the club legally have to meet with them. But legally having to meet with them and actually interacting with them are two completely different things. Because at times, this club can seem very aloof to us. I mean, I've banged on about it far too often already. But it's that the club has got to see this as being as positive. This isn't a threat. We're not, they're not trying to steamroller in, take the whole thing over. They want to interact. The club have got to understand we are their customers. We are telling them what we want. We can't go in and you can't go in and say, give us the league title or rubbish. That's not the area that the fans can affect. It's how the club interacts with the fans, what the club does off the ice to include everybody. That is the important thing. And I really do hope that the club get involved. See it for what it is, the opportunity that it is, and get involved.
Yeah, I think for me, I was really pleasantly surprised and very, very happy that the numbers that turned up, because I thought this is very much a results-driven business. We've been playing fantastically over Christmas, and I thought people wouldn't turn up because, let's face it, when the team is doing well, everybody's happy. However, I was really surprised to see so many people turn up. See so many people who really do care about how the club interacts with the fans. And I suppose the most pleasing thing for me was that people went and they actually bought into what the whole thing was about. It's not about regime change. It's not about turfing people out of their jobs. It's not about protests. It's not a protest movement at all. It's just about wanting a better dialogue between the fans and the club, and that's it. That's the aim. And it was so nice to see so many people there. And when it came to the open questions, I was then expecting it all to come out and people to speak about whatever agendas they had, and it didn't happen, which was brilliant. Most people there, in fact I would say virtually everyone there, was completely on board with what was being said and what the trust is setting out to achieve. So looking at what Rob and the guys have been talking about today on the various groups that they're involved in, is that they should be an open meeting that is very, very likely to take place before the end of the season. This is a legal requirement for setting up a trust, and so it has to be an open meeting so that people who wish to object can object, people who want to be part of the trust can go along, and also the club can be formally invited, and that has to be done in the presence of somebody from Supporters Direct, so that a trust can be legally set up at that meeting. So we will see what happens, and as soon as we have any details about that open meeting and the venue, we will of course talk about it and advertise it on here.
The person from Supporters Direct?
Yeah.
Can they do me a refund on the trainers I bought at Christmas because they were on size? just while they're there, I just thought, two birds, one stone.
Moving on.
Have I misunderstood again?
Yes. Moving on. Great Britain under-16s took part in a tournament at the Dumfries Ice Bowl in between Christmas and New Year. Teams from Belgium, the Netherlands and Spain also took part. Great Britain won the tournament thanks to an 11-1 win against Spain on the final day that came just 9 hours after they came off the ice against the Netherlands the previous night. Corey Nielsen's son, Cade, he was the top scorer for Great Britain with 7 goals and 6 assists. And I know you guys haven't seen any of this, but it's quite encouraging that at that level there's a team already together with a lot of depth, and from what I saw while I was there is a lot of depth in that team. All the lines were scoring goals and scoring points, and okay, you can say that maybe it's not the greatest opposition to face. They're not, what would be known as standard hockey nations. It's not like they're playing Sweden, Denmark, Germany, Czech Republic, etc., etc. But it's encouraging that at that level you've got a lot of kids who are playing good hockey, and also 4 of the squad are playing their hockey in North America. So,
it's of course it's a positive. I'd like to see a lot more of our youngsters, try it in the States. That's where the best hockey education is going to come from. If Team GB are going to succeed, they're going to have the best players possible, and it all starts from the junior system. until things get sorted over here, and there's proper investment in the sport. They're going to have to go to the States and what have you, and it's exciting times. I remember the England football, was it under 18s winning a few years ago. Unfortunately, England football being England football, they've just done nothing from that. So I hope it's not the same case in this regard.
Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this briefly the other day, didn't we? I think obviously, as you said, it's very positive. The kind of group that there seems to be in that under 16s, because there is going to be this gap where players like your David Clark, your Jonathan Phillips, your Jonathan Weaver, and a few more, they're going to retire from the game, and we're going to have a period where maybe we don't, have those type of players again. But if these under 16s can stay together and can keep developing, then GB hockey in years to come at this precise moment in time looks quite positive. And Corey Nielsen's son Cade, is obviously over with Frank Morris, who used to work with the Braid clan in the hockey school over there as well. And if he was top scorer for GB with 7 and 6, it's not bad. And obviously it'll be interesting to see where he goes.
Paul, your thoughts?
I think going back to the talking about bringing the team together, how often have we spoken about continuity and how it helps, and they're going to get used to playing with each other, and and that always helps. But you can tell the difference between us and Aaron, can't you? He remembers Frank Morris just being involved in the coaching at Braid. We remember him playing.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Well, I mean, what was it you telling me that was it Terry Ord's grandson?
Yeah, Jamie Ord was playing for Great Britain. Brian Larkin, if there's any Swindon fans listening, Brian Larkin's son.
Of course there is.
Brian Larkin's son was playing.
Grandson. Grandson. I remember Terry Ord playing. Him and his brother Graham. For Whitley. Yeah.
He was in the Whitley programme, Jamie. And the thing is, what was interesting was the spread of the squad. There wasn't like a load of players from one club. I think Chelmsford actually had the most players. There were 4 Chelmsford players, and that was I think they were the biggest contributors to the squad. But generally there was Joe Hazeldine, who's trading with the Panthers. He was there. I think he's played under 16. I think he may have had a couple of games for the Lions as well. And then, as I mentioned, Cade Nielsen, who plays in Ontario. Another lad who really caught my eye was Kieran Brown. He's playing for the Iowa Wild in the United States, so part of the Minnesota Wild organisation. He was very, very good as well. I think he was a point behind Cade. I think he got 7 goals and 5 assists overall, something like that, or maybe 6 and 5. But I was mightily impressed with the depth and the fact that there was scoring throughout all 4 lines. The coach Rob Wilkinson, he said that he was really, really pleased that he could put any line on and they were a threat. There wasn't a line that went on actually to prevent the other team from scoring. They was there to attack and there to try and gain some offence. So I was mightily impressed with what I saw, and it's like you say, if they can stick together, I think there's going to be a hell of a Great Britain team in sort of 7 or 8 years' time, if they can stick together and if they manage to stay away from all the usual attractions that attract teenage lads at that age. But
Dumfries.
It's not a bad place. It's not a bad place at all. Nice rink, very nice rink.
I've only ever seen it in the dark. So
anyway, we will finish by looking at some of the other Elite League news, results, and tables. And I did a little table. about the games that everyone played over Christmas. You'll not be surprised to learn that Panthers were top of that with 11 points out of the 12 from the 6 games they played. So they gained 92% of the points that were available. Belfast also played 6 games. They won 5, lost 1 for 10 points. Cardiff, who are the current league leaders, they only played 4 games over the festive period, winning 3 and losing 1 to Manchester. So they gained 6 points, but 75% of the points available to them. Then comes Sheffield and Braehead with 8 points each from their 6 games. Manchester got 6 points from 5 games, as did Fife. Coventry just the 2 points from the overtime win in Nottingham from 7 games that they played over the festive period. And both Edinburgh with 6 games and Dundee with 5 games failed to score a point over the Christmas period. So looking at the table overall, Cardiff still ahead, 4 points clear of Belfast, who have also played 29 games like Cardiff, and they are on 41 points. Sheffield third with 35 points from 26 games, then Panthers 34 points from 28 games. Braehead 30 from 30, 5-27 from 27, as are Manchester in 7th. Coventry hold the final playoff spot with 22 points, but they have played 30 games. And then in the bottom 2 places, Dundee in 9th, 20 points, and Edinburgh in 10th with 17 points. So, overall, it's been a good festive period for Nottingham, Belfast and Cardiff. Not so much for Edinburgh, Dundee and Coventry. But some of the incidents that came out of the festive period, Corey Cowick of the Braehead clan got a 4-game ban from Dops for sucker punching Jared Stall of the Edinburgh Capitals. Have any of you guys had a chance to look at that Dops video?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think?
Did he get all 4? I
think he got 1 for the high stick and 3 for the second incident.
That's the game and a half. That's about a game and a half per punch then.
But it wasn't cited though. I mean, how could Stall?
I mean, to be honest, I think he's probably slightly hard done to, but only by sort of a game. Also, really, I mean, the high stick is bad, and the way he just swings at somebody from behind, it is pretty bad as well. So I don't think you can really complain too much about the ban. But do you want to know an interesting fact I was told about Braehead?
What's that?
They before their last game, they got 28 points. 26 of them were in their own conference.
Is that so?
Well, that's what Joe told me.
Blimey, I didn't realise it.
I think he read it somewhere, so it might not be, but that's interesting. I could be wrong. Don't tweet me and tell me if I am.
Yeah. I might have a quick look at the standings then, just to see.
At the real Jono Bullard, if you want to complain.
Actually,
got a blue tick yet?
Actually, that's absolutely right. They've got 28 points in their conference, and they've got 30 points overall. So yes, they have only gained 2 points, which I think was
saved me a few letters.
Which I think was against us. I think they're 2 points, but
yeah, they beat us. Yeah, with the backup in.
Right. So, anybody else see the Cowick incident? Aaron?
No.
I've seen something to do with Corey Cowick, and so it might have been that incident. But all I would kind of add on what Paul said is that he's been looked at by Dops for quite a few other things, hasn't he? So whether that, I know they say it doesn't have any recollection on future bans, etc. But I don't know whether that had or not. But the incident that I saw looked pretty nasty, and I think obviously with it being a sucker punch, it must have been what I saw, because the Edinburgh player had no idea what had just happened.
And Stall has been out since. He's not played since.
So obviously, an injury sustained on the play, which doesn't sit well with Dops, does it? So like I said, I can't really add much more than that, and what Paul has said as well.
Okay. Just very quickly, Belfast looked to be putting a charge in to put pressure on Cardiff. Although Cardiff didn't play as many games, Belfast getting 10 points from the 12 that was available to them. Cardiff getting 6 points from the 8 that was available to them. So Belfast find themselves now 4 points behind Cardiff, having played the same number of games. I mean, and they are starting to turn the screw and put some pressure on the Devils.
Yeah, it's surprising, really, because, every time I've seen them play us, I've not thought that much of them, to be fair. I thought they were average at best, but momentum's a funny thing. I've just finished reading an article on the Elite League website about Jeff Brown saying, he thinks we're on a roll now. So I think me and Aaron jokingly talked about it on New Year's Eve, but if Steelers can still win the league, surely we can as well, if we can put on a run and Cardiff do their annual choke.
I admire your optimism. Right, I think we're not getting it. Let's put it this way.
Yeah. No, I mean, good luck to him. It's I've got quite a few mates from Belfast, and although there's no love lost between our two teams, good luck. It should be made for an interesting running.
Okay. And I think we will leave it there for tonight. Ask TCW returns tomorrow, so if you want to get your questions in, anything hockey related, do so. Best place is Twitter at CatsWhiskersTV, but you can also use our dedicated thread on the Cage Forum, the various Panthers Facebook groups, and also if you want to email us a question, it's tcwonlinetv@gmail.com. So get those in for tomorrow's show. Until then, it's time to say thank you very much to Aaron Lord.
Thank you, Jono. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Ant. Thank you, everybody.
Paul Balm.
TTFN. I had to do it. I forgot to say hi earlier.
And Antoine Marie-Jeanne.
Take care of yourselves, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Okay. Thank you very much for listening. We will
do Street Blue.
we will
do Jerry Springer.
Can I wrap this up?
Jono.
We will be back tomorrow for Ask TCW live at 8:45 PM as usual. Until then, thanks for listening, and we'll speak to you then.